Alright, in this video, we will discuss the latest updates about the war between Israel, America and Iran. First, we will discuss how the US is eyeing Iran's oil. Now, the US President has started openly admitting that he wants Iran's oil. Then, we will discuss how, on one hand, Pakistan is trying to mediate peace talks between the two parties. At the same time, we will also see how the United States is gradually moving towards taking control of Khag Island under the cover of negotiations. We will also discuss how Iran has called the US demands unreasonable. We will see how a European country like Spain, which is also a NATO member and has been vocal against what it considers an illegal war by Israel and the US, has closed its airspace for US planes. After that, we will discuss Iran's strike on Israel's Haifa oil refinery. Finally, we will talk about Trump's latest threat, where he is talking about completely destroying power plants inside Iran. So, let's begin. First, let us talk about America's interest in Iran's oil. For many days, narratives were being built that Iran's women would be freed. There were claims that freedom would be brought there and people would be liberated. All this has now been exposed as a facade. Now, the US President is directly claiming that they will take control of Iran's oil. He says that they can easily capture Khag Island. Capturing oil is described as his favorite objective. In reality, everyone already knew that the US had an interest in Iran's oil. This fact was not hidden from anyone. In the past, the US has invaded several countries for oil. So, the situation now follows a similar pattern. Around this, narratives of freedom and democracy were being built, which the United States has often done. But under the Trump administration, the US no longer feels the need to hide these intentions. Now, it is being openly stated that they will take control of another country's oil. Khag Island is being specifically discussed because it is Iran's oil lifeline. Around 90% of Iran's oil exports pass through this island. There are large storage tanks, terminals, and pipelines located there. Trump is saying that capturing oil is his favorite objective and that the United States can easily capture Khag Island. This is being seen as a signal that the US may launch a ground operation inside Iran. The US has already increased its military deployment in the region. Thousands of Marines and troops have been deployed. The 82nd Airborne Division, which consists of paratroopers, has also been deployed in the region. This is the Rapid Response Force of the United States. It is used when a quick invasion or a rapid operation is required to capture something swiftly. So, it is clear that this is not just rhetoric. Military preparations are also underway. Signs of preparation for an invasion are visible. We may soon see a military operation of this kind. Such an operation may involve airstrikes. Paratroopers may land. They may receive naval support. Marines may support them. They may attempt to occupy Iran's oil facilities. Iran is already preparing for this possible invasion. It has deployed missiles. It has deployed air defenses. It has laid mines. Khag Island has been reinforced in preparation for a possible invasion. Many defense experts are continuously warning the United States. They say that any ground operation inside Iran would be very expensive. It would also be extremely dangerous. Khag Island is very close to Iran's mainland. Iran can easily launch a counterattack there. US soldiers would be in the line of fire. So, this would be a high-risk mission. However, Trump appears to be deeply involved in the conflict. He wants to maintain pressure on Iran. He wants to stop Iran's oil exports. This would create economic pressure on Iran. He wants to financially weaken Iran. This would limit Iran's ability to retaliate. Secondly, just as the United States carried out an operation in Venezuela and removed President Nicolas Maduro while taking control of Venezuela's oil, a similar approach is being considered here. The United States wants to take control of Iran's oil as well. This is because both these countries supply oil to China, which is a strategic rival of the United States. So, this is part of a broader strategy to contain China. That is why the United States wants to control the oil flows through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, the Strait of Hormuz is under Iran's control. So, to To force Iran to negotiate and to build pressure on it, the United States may try to capture Kharg Island. However, it is highly unlikely that the United States will be able to do this. Even if the United States captures Kharg Island, it will be very difficult to hold it. Iran will continue to launch attacks. Iran's proxies are increasingly entering the war. Recently, the Houthis fired missiles at Israel. US troops could get trapped on Kharg Island. Managing logistics will become very difficult for the United States. This will also create legal and moral controversy. You are openly capturing another country's oil in this manner. Global backlash against US actions is gradually increasing. Countries are now calling out the United States for violating international law. So, this operation is a high-risk gamble for the US. It will not be easy. However, Trump's statements have made it clear that the entire issue revolves around Iran's oil. The United States has a strong interest in Iran's oil. All other narratives appear to be secondary. Friends, there is another serious development. An Iranian missile entered NATO airspace. It was shot down. The war is spreading. It is no longer limited to Iran, Israel, and the United States. It is now touching NATO territory as well. Iran launched a ballistic missile that entered Turkish airspace. Turkey is a NATO country. Before it could hit its target, it was shot down by NATO's air defense system. This means that missiles and drones are now spilling over from the war zone into other countries. This indicates that the war is expanding. This is horizontal escalation. There is an airbase in Turkey called Incirlik, which is used by US forces. If Iran attacks Turkey, this could turn into NATO versus Iran. Now, three possibilities emerge. Either Iran is sending a signal to NATO that if NATO supports the US and Israel and allows its military bases to be used against Iran, then it will not remain safe. Iran will retaliate against it. Or this could be a spillover or a miscalculation. The missile may have been aimed elsewhere but accidentally entered Turkish airspace. Iran usually acknowledges its involvement. It often claims that it has launched an attack. So, if this was done intentionally by Iran, it would mean an attack on a NATO country. In that case, Article 5 could be invoked. NATO's collective defense principle means an attack on one member is an attack on all. Then NATO would enter the war. It would become NATO versus Iran. Third possibility is that false flag attacks are being carried out to draw NATO countries into the war. There is a lot of misinformation being spread during the war. It is becoming very difficult to determine the actual reality. At present, the only confirmed information is that an Iranian missile entered Turkish airspace and was destroyed before it could cause any damage. So far, NATO's Article 5 has not been invoked. Turkey has issued strong warnings to Iran. So, this conflict is becoming multi-front. Iran versus Israel is one front, then Iran versus the United States is another. In Lebanon, Iran's ally Hezbollah is involved in fighting. In the Red Sea, the Houthis are also involved. Now tensions with Turkey are adding another dimension. This escalation will increase economic shock. Oil prices will continue to rise. Fears of global inflation will also increase. Friends, the war in West Asia has now entered its 31st day. On one side, Trump is talking about military escalation and capturing Iran's oil. On the other side, Pakistan is talking about diplomatic efforts. The war is becoming multi-country and multi-front. Since the war began, oil prices have surged by up to 60%. Crude oil is trading above $110 per barrel. Pakistan is offering to host peace talks between the United States and Iran. Pakistan is trying to conduct back-channel diplomacy by working with countries like Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Egypt. Pakistan has ties with the US. It also has ties with Iran. It also has ties with Gulf countries. So, it is being seen as a bridge. Pakistan says that it is mediating. The United States says that talks are progressing. However, Iran has completely rejected this. It is saying that it is not even part of these talks. This means that no direct talks are taking place. There may be back-channel or indirect talks. At this early stage, things are very unclear. The United States is trying to combine negotiations with a show of strength. On one hand, it is talking about negotiations. It is presenting what Iran calls unreasonable demands. On the other hand, it is increasing military pressure. It is talking about capturing Khag Island. It is increasing troop deployments. It is expanding strikes. Schools and universities in Iran are being targeted. Energy infrastructure has also been targeted. So, civilian infrastructure in Iran is also being targeted to increase pressure. Iran is also retaliating. It is targeting Israel's energy infrastructure. It attacked a US airbase in Saudi Arabia. It destroyed a critical E-3 Sentry AWACS aircraft of the United States. So, attacks and counterattacks are taking place. The war is intensifying. If the talks succeed and a ceasefire is achieved, oil prices may stabilize. The war can be contained. If the talks do not progress and fail, the war will expand massively. The next update, friends, is that a major rift is visible within NATO. A NATO country, Spain, has closed its airspace for US military aircraft. Spain has said that any US military aircraft involved in what it calls an illegal war against Iran will not be allowed to enter its airspace. Spain had already refused to allow the United States to use its military bases to attack Iran. It will not provide its airspace or bases for this war. Spain says that the US and Israeli attacks on Iran are unilateral. They are against international law. They do not have approval from the United Nations. There was no collective NATO mandate. This action was taken unilaterally. Therefore, Spain considers this war illegal and unjust. So, when NATO allies refuse support, it makes US operations more difficult. Refueling, timing, and coordination all become harder. War operations become slower and more expensive. The United States has to take longer routes. When allies stand against the US, it affects its military logistics. This also signals that NATO unity is weakening. NATO members are openly refusing to support the United States. They are hesitant to enter this war. In anger, Trump has called them cowardly. This sends a signal that NATO is not united in this war. NATO countries say that they support defensive missions. If a NATO member is attacked, they will defend it. However, they will not support an offensive war against Iran. This means that NATO countries are saying that they are part of NATO but not part of this war. So, a clear signal is emerging that Europe is divided. Some European countries are quietly supporting the United States, such as the UK. Other countries like Spain are openly opposing it. Despite Trump openly threatening trade actions, countries like Spain are not backing down. When your own allies call your war illegal, it weakens your global narrative. It becomes harder to build a coalition. This war will become politically costly. It is not just a military risk. There is also diplomatic isolation. Trade tensions will increase. Strain will appear in alliances. It is possible that if the war continues in this manner and Europe's concerns increase, more European countries may openly oppose the United States like Spain. This could lead to an internal crisis within NATO. Due to aggressive US military actions, long-term trust issues may emerge within the NATO alliance. So, the United States has to manage a military front. It also has to manage a diplomatic front. Its political legitimacy is gradually eroding. Next, we will talk about the attack on Israel's Haifa oil refinery. An Iranian missile struck Israel's Haifa oil refinery complex. This is a major escalation in the war. Now both sides are directly targeting each other's energy infrastructure. It is no longer limited to military bases. Energy infrastructure is also being targeted. Due to Iran's strike, a massive fire broke out at the Haifa oil refinery. The missile hit a fuel storage tank. Israel's critical infrastructure has been damaged. Haifa is strategically very important for Israel. It is one of Israel's largest oil refining centers. Fuel for transport, the military, and industry is supplied from here. It is located near the major economic hub, the Haifa port. So, attacking it means targeting Israel's energy backbone. Friends, energy warfare is intensifying. Israel has also attacked Iran's oil and gas facilities. For example, South Pars. Iran has retaliated. It has targeted refineries in Israel, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia. So, both sides are engaging in economic warfare. The goal is to attack energy installations, create economic pain, build pressure. Earlier, Iran was limited to targeting military bases. But when schools are attacked, universities are attacked, power installations are attacked, and energy infrastructure is destroyed, the response changes. In response, Iran is now carrying out reciprocal attacks. It is targeting economic and civilian-linked infrastructure. Israel is currently facing multi-directional attacks. Missiles are being launched from Iran. Hezbollah is also launching missiles from Lebanon. The Houthis have also entered the war from Yemen. This is increasing pressure on Israel's air defense. No air defense system can stop 100% of missiles. The barrage of missiles from Iran is overwhelming Israel's air defense. Many missiles are being intercepted, but many are also getting through and hitting targets. There is widespread damage in Israel. If refineries in different countries are attacked like this, the fear of supply disruption will increase. Oil markets will react sharply to such incidents. Prices are already rising. This also creates shipping risks. Haifa is a key port in the Mediterranean. If disruption happens here, trade routes will be affected. When oil refineries are attacked, environmental damage also occurs. Right now, no one is even talking about the environment. When critical infrastructure and significant sites are hit, a cycle of retaliation begins. Now Israel will intensify its strikes on Iran's energy sector. Iran will respond again. This will create a cycle of retaliation. This increases the risk of the war expanding. Infrastructure in many other countries could be targeted. The war will become larger, wider, and more destructive. Finally, we will talk about Trump's latest threats. You can understand this as a threat or an ultimatum. Trump has given one of the most dangerous statements so far. Trump says that if a deal is not reached quickly and the Strait of Hormuz is not reopened, then Iran's power plants will be completely destroyed. He says that Iran's oil wells will be destroyed. Kharg Island will be devastated. He even said that desalination plants, which are essential for Iran's water supply, will also be targeted. Trump says that, until now, the United States has deliberately avoided attacking these targets. He says they were intentionally spared. But if a deal is not reached, these targets will be attacked soon. They will be completely destroyed. Trump says that the restraint shown by the United States so far will end. He says that the United States will directly attack Iran's economic heart. This is Trump's strategy of coercive diplomacy. First, he creates pressure. There will be military build-up. There will be airstrikes. Threats will be given to target critical infrastructure. After that, a negotiation offer is made. An attempt is made to secure a deal favorable to the United States. Talks may take place through messengers like Pakistan. Pressure will be built on Iran to agree to US terms. If that does not happen, the war will be massively escalated. Friends, this situation can become extremely serious. When power plants are targeted, electricity supply for homes and hospitals is cut off. When desalination plants are attacked, there is a shortage of drinking water. Ordinary people are directly affected by this. This is considered a war crime. Very quickly, we are seeing that the narrative of the war has shifted from military targets to infrastructure destruction. Iran has already warned that if its infrastructure is attacked, it will carry out strong retaliation. We could even see a complete closure of the Strait of Hormuz. This would be extremely dangerous. It could trigger a global recession. The problem is that Iran has rejected talks, calling US demands unreasonable. Trump says that talks are ongoing, but Iran says that no talks are taking place. It says that the demands themselves are unreasonable. Iran says it will not accept excessive and unrealistic demands. Iran has presented its own 5 demands to the United States. The US is unlikely to accept those demands. Iran has also clarified that it has not participated in Pakistan-led mediation talks. Iran says that Pakistan's claims of acting as a bridge are not accurate. It says that it has not participated in those forums. It says that those are Pakistan's own initiatives. Iran has rejected US demands by calling them one-sided and equivalent to complete surrender. Iran does not want to give up its security and strategic power under any circumstances. Iran wants guaranteed benefits. The United States is not willing to provide them. That is why de-escalation is not happening. Now the United States is using military pressure. Iran believes that it will negotiate from a position of strength. Trump's philosophy is peace through strength. There is a trust deficit between the two countries. Neither side wants to back down. In the past, the United States attacked Iran during negotiations twice. So even now, Iran says that these talks are just a cover. It believes that the United States is preparing for military action. So far, no common ground has been achieved. This diplomatic confusion is a very dangerous moment for the entire world. When there is no clarity, the risk of miscalculation increases. We are seeing that positions on both sides are becoming more rigid. The United States is demanding strong concessions from Iran. Iran is not willing to back down under any circumstances. Trump has now started openly giving deadlines to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. He is threatening major escalation. If indirect talks quickly turn into direct negotiations and mediators succeed, a temporary ceasefire may happen. Otherwise, we may see a US ground operation materialize. This could trigger a full-scale regional war. If the gap between the two countries is not bridged soon, the war will continue to grow. It will keep escalating. That will prove destructive for the entire world.